use as residential caravan site for 4 Gypsy traveller families, each of their own 2 caravans, mobile homes with the retention of the existing day room. Then sort of the lane of hard standing as well. So the application site itself is located on a parcel of land known as the Orchard. It's situated to the north of the village of Barnack, and it's located outside the urban boundary of Peterborough. It's also located outside the urban boundary of Barnack as well, so it's, in policy terms, designated as countryside. And it should be noted at the moment that to the north of the site is another unlawful Gypsy traveller site known as the Vineyard. But as sort of declared in the committee report, this is a separate matter and it's not for the consideration under this application. So just please bear that in mind. This slide shows a summary of the recent planning history on the site. So looking at reference, well, the 21 reference first, this was refused based on the sort of retention of the agricultural use, and it wasn't fit for policy terms and highways as well. The bottom left image is just sort of a layout of what was on the site at that time. It was a sort of retrospective use, so it was just sort of used for rabbit farming, agricultural stuff, and a nursery as well. And then the rest of the history, so the 2017 application was the erection of a temporary timber dwelling and an agricultural building. So the timber dwelling that was approved then is still on site today, and that's as part of this application for the day room, so it's existing. So this slide just sort of shows the aerial footage over time. So starting with 1997, you can sort of see the use of the land is completely agricultural. There's no access, there's no nothing, it's completely open. And then moving towards 2016, you can sort of see there's a bit more sort of, I guess the sort of nursery uses come into effect. 2018 to 2025, you can sort of see now the site's becoming more developed. So between 2020 and 2023, the access as part of the application site, and then the site to the north, the Vineyard, which was approved, has sort of been constructed and laid out. And then the most recent 2025 one, just for sort of your benefit, is the site today. So this site towards the bottom, this is the site in question today, and it is part retrospective, hence why there's sort of works there already. So you can sort of see where my cursor is the existing access point, the day room just to the west, and then your various pitches around the site. This is the existing site plan, pre any sort of development, so you can sort of see it's just sort of existing grassland, the existing day room to the front, and sort of hedging. The proposed site layout, so you can sort of see the various mobile homes and their associated caravans. There's a mix of hard standing and a mix of sort of soft landscaping as well. So this is a site site photo from the access looking towards the site. So you can sort of see the gated access to the orchard on the left-hand side, and to the right-hand side is the access point to the Vineyard, which is the other sort of site. Again, more photos of the access, but sort of looking out towards the street scene now. So again, looking left, well, the middle image is looking left to the north, and then the right-hand side image is looking south towards the village of Barnack. These are just some more various images of the site. So as it's part retrospective, there's sort of certain elements, the caravans, landscaping, and some sort of boundary treatments that have been erected already. Again, just some more sort of images. You can sort of see the high landscapes and the access roads being sort of put in place down the site. Towards the rear of the site, there's sort of various orchard tree planting from the previous uses on the site, which has been retained. And then the right-hand side image sort of displays the separation from the site itself and the village of Barnack. So for this application, the key sort of planning considerations are the principle of development, the highway safety matters, and then the matters relating to national gas assets. So starting with the principle of development, we've got the, I guess the latest Gypsy Traveller Accommodation Assessment published by Peterborough City Council in 2015. So this, just in a really short summary, outlines that from 2025 now till 2045, there's a need for 72 pitches over the whole period for Gypsy travellers. And then 36 of those are required within the first 5 years. So from a sort of planning policy sort of sense, there's a definite need for these sort of sites within our Peterborough urban boundary. And then moving on to the next part, which is the local plan sort of assessment. So LP10 focuses on gypsy and travellers. And again, you've got five sort of criteria to work through. So I guess just a quick summary. So part A looks at the site as a whole and its use, and does it sort of conflict with local and national policy? And this is more in terms of sort of flood risk, contamination, landscape character, built and natural assets on sites. This is okay, sort of outlined in the community report. There's no sort of adverse impacts on this behalf. Moving on to the next point is part B, which looks at the sort of location of the site in reference to any sort of nearby settlements. So again, officers found that this is acceptable. It's close enough to the village to still access their services as and when they're required. Part C, this again looks at sort of access, parking, and sort of turning and serving spaces on site. So this point was not met, and this forms our first reason for refusal, but we'll touch back on this soon. Again, part D looks at sort of servicing by utilities, water and sewage. Again, these were found to be acceptable in general terms, so that was fine. And then the last one looks at sort of neighbour occupying amenity as well. And again, given the sort of separation distance outside the village, there's sort of no adverse sort of neighbour impacts from this site. So just sort of summarising the first refusal reason really, solely related to highway matters. So the local highways authority objected to this sort of based on a lack of information. And this was the applicant sort of failed to demonstrate a safe, convenient access. And then as such, we weren't able to sort of assess whether there would be an acceptable impact on highway safety. And sort of alongside of this, there's sort of various highway drawings that were missing and detailing, such as the vehicle-to-vehicle visibility displays, which are sort of key for determining the application at this sort of stage. So without that, it's contrary to LP10 in principal terms and sort of LP13 as a technical matter. And just for everyone's benefit, if you weren't here for the site visits on Friday, the site itself needs to demonstrate a vehicle-to-vehicle visibility display of 2.4 metres by 250 metres in both directions of the access. So the left-hand side image looks north, and then the right-hand side image looks south. So as you can sort of tell, due to the curvature of the road, the vehicle displays cross third-party land, so it's unacceptable in sort of highways terms. So the applicant aren't able to achieve the necessary displays either direction. And then the second reason for refusal sort of come about from the holding objection from National Gas Transmission. So the applicant need to sort of demonstrate through various assessments and sort of criteria that their proposal won't sort of harm the gas transmission assets located to the south of the site. So similar to the previous refusal reason, due to lack of information from this quantitative risk assessment, both ourselves and National Gas are unable to assess the impact as a whole. So forms another reason for refusal, and this can be related back to the principle and sort of the impact on neighbour amenity, given the sort of safety element of the gas. And then just a sort of a quick summary of the sort of plan and balance and the assessment we went through. So under the Town and Country Planning Act, we must make our decisions in accordance with the development plan unless material considerations state otherwise. So it's clear from, I guess, the policy sort of side that there's a very clear need for gypsy and travel accommodation in Peterborough. But given the sort of highway safety issues, the lack of information, and the real uncertainty about if a safe access could be delivered, alongside the sort of harm from the uncertainty around the gas assets as well, there's a sort of a clear policy conflict. So in terms of the sort of weighting, we applied a more harmful weight to the sort of misinformation in terms of highways and national gas, which sort of overrode the benefits from this application. Therefore, we're recommending refusal. Thank you, Chair. Back to you.
Thank you. We have 3 people registered to speak on this item. Please can I ask Councillor Tyre, Ward Councillor, and Noel Casander, Parish Councillor Representative, to address the committee. You will have 10 minutes between you in which to address the committee. The Democratic Service Officer will let you know when you have 30 seconds left and when The time has lapsed. When you are ready, if you can, please switch on your mic and start speaking. Thank you.
Chairman, thank you very much for the opportunity of speaking. A really fulsome report by officers. I really feel they have drilled down into the issues well. It's been a long time in production, but it's a very solid piece of work. It's going to be backed up with some more technical information from the next two speakers. You may be pleased to hear that I have no technical information to share with you. I purely bring a layman's point of view, the point of view from somebody who has driven along this road 100 times. On one occasion when I went to look for this site and I drove along at 10 miles an hour, I couldn't find it because I drove straight past it. I am not surprised that our highways colleagues tell us that this road is unsafe in relation to this development. I'm not surprised at all. 60 miles an hour, national speed limit, and young people on bicycles emerging from junctions, cars emerging from junctions, pedestrians emerging from junctions, they just don't mix. So I'm not here to be opposed to the development. I'm here to be opposed to what is a dangerous development. I'm concerned about road users, and I'm concerned about the people that live on the site. I feel I have a duty of care for those people because I believe this is not a suitable development. So for me, it's not a lack of information that's driving the decision. It's my personal belief in what is right and safe for the people within this community. I applaud the recommendation that's presented to you, and I hope you can support it.
Good afternoon, members. I am a planning agent with years of experience of dealing with Gypsy and traveller sites. I've been asked to speak to you to amplify the objections of Barnet Parish Council. We support the refusal. The scheme is poorly conceived and will result in the wrong form of development in the wrong place. The development has already begun. The written ministerial statement of December 2015 states that intentional unauthorised development is material, and this should be afforded weight against the development. An established need does not mean that you can develop sites in any location. It's still necessary to assess each proposal on its merits and to refuse where they fall short of normal high standards. We note that refusal will be based on highway impacts and on the impact on the gas pipe. We endorse this assessment, stressing to members that the hazard, particularly in respect of the highway impact, would be substantial. The Parish Council objection included other points which are all material. I don't intend on repeating each one, but I'll just draw out a number of key issues that, in my view, justify additional reasons for refusal. Firstly, the submission says next to nothing on the applicant's status, which is crucial to meeting with policy, and it's not sufficient to deal with that purely through condition. Second, whilst the area falls within a zone deemed to be at low risk of flooding from rivers and sea, the flood maps do show a proportion of the site within a surface water flood zone. And the MPPF says that a flood risk assessment should be provided where land may be subject to other sources of flooding and development would introduce a more vulnerable use. And Policy B of Planning Policy for Traveller Sites says proposals in flood risk areas should be avoided due to the vulnerability of caravans. So in absence of a flood risk assessment, the site would fail to comply with policies LP10, LP32 and the MPPF, as well as PPTS. Third, drainage. The application form states soak away for surface water and package plant for foul, which would need to discharge locally. The treatment plant appears to lie within the surface water flood zone area. So in absence of any evidence or drainage strategy, the proposal would fail to accord with policies LP10, LP32 and the MPPF. Fourth, the location plan shows that the ownership extends to a much greater area outside the red line. And whilst the current application is for 4 pitches, the site layout plan is a bit ambiguous over the land outside the red line area, showing a trackway leading directly into it. Now, whilst future intentions are not material, obviously an extension in the future would result in a site which gives rise to much greater environmental and community impact. Policy H of PPTS requires sites to make effective use of land and be well planned and soft landscaped to enhance the environment and increase openness. The site, as is set out, is cramped, and it's unclear why the land in the blue line, which is substantial, is excluded. The intention for the blue line area is unclear, and this goes against the principles of good planning. The layout of the site does not accord with the principles of Policy H of PPTS. Fifth, visual amenity and landscape impact. The surrounding area is relatively flat with long-range views, and consequently the site will be an isolated and highly visible and prominent feature from various directions, including highways and public footpath Barnack 12, which runs along the rear of the site. The visual impacts of the development would be a significant detractor, in particular for users of the footpath, being substantial, obvious, and highly incongruous in the context. The development will cause unacceptable harm to the public footpath as part of the green infrastructure network. And overall, there'd be a significant adverse impact on the character and visual amenity of the countryside. And this would be contrary to policies LP10, LP16, LP22, LP27, and the MPPF. 6. Accessibility and sustainability. Whilst the site is geographically close to Barnack, there is no safe pedestrian route. Uffington Road is subject to national speed limit with no pathway. The nearest bus stops are in Barnack, but these would not be accessible by foot realistically, and the road is also too fast and dangerous to be a realistic option for cycling. Whilst these kind of sites are often located in the countryside, policy requires sites to be within reasonable travelling distance of a settlement. In the interests of sustainability, this should also include realistic options to walk, cycle, or use public transport. Policy also requires sites to have a safe pedestrian access. The inhabitants would in reality be entirely reliant on private car travel to meet all of their everyday needs. This would make the development fundamentally unsustainable, failing to accord with planning policy, including LP10 and A1 of the neighbourhood plan. So, in summary, the proposed development would generate a variety of environmental and amenity harms, which, taken into account intentional and authorised development, would not be outweighed by any established need. The landscape harm would be substantial. Members are urged to refuse the application based on the officer recommendation, but also including additional refusal reasons on the other issues, and to serve an enforcement notice immediately on refusal to deal with the breach of planning control. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do any members of the committee have any questions?
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to clarify that you're Niall, right? I just want to clarify your name.
Sorry, my name?
Yes.
Sorry, Neil Castledon.
Right, okay. Yeah,
Sorry.
no, I just want, yeah, wasn't quite sure. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Do you have a question?
No, I don't have, that was my only question.
That was your question,
yeah,
was it?
Very well, thank you for your detailed...
We're easily confused.
Yes, yeah, thank you.
In fairness, I have a very awkward name, so it's fine, don't worry.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? No? In that case, thank you. You may now return to the public gallery. Please can I ask Philip Hughes, the objector, to address the committee? You will have 5 minutes in which to address the committee. The Democratic Services Officer will let you know when you have 30 seconds left and when the time has lapsed. When you are ready, if you can please switch on your mic and start speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and members, for the opportunity to address you on behalf of Burley House Preservation Trust and the community, whose objections are on file. You have a petition of 206 signatures and 122 individual objections, and you'll be aware of many more objections. We thank the officers for their recommendation to refuse permission and endorse their highway reason for refusal and the refusal in relation to the national gas transmission line. Residents are familiar with the delays and near misses along this stretch of the road, and they consider the access to be dangerous and the proposed use to exacerbate such highway safety concerns. We too would request that you consider additional reasons for refusal. The application site falls outside the village envelope of Barnack, within the countryside. Policy LP2 states that development in the countryside will be restricted to 4 categories, of which the proposals do not comprise one. It then states all other residential development will, by definition, be contrary to the vision, objectives, development strategy and policies of this local plan and should be refused. Policy LP11 confirms that in the countryside, caravans and mobile homes will be dealt with in the same way as permanent homes. The proposal includes 8 caravans, a large detached building, parked vehicles, hard surfacing and residential paraphernalia, and it will urbanise this part of the countryside. The lawful baseline for assessing the impact of the proposed development does not include the existing building, which was erected either without planning permission or it remains on site contrary to the temporary planning permission. An application to retain the unlawfully erected building was refused planning permission by your council. The lawful baseline for assessing the application is therefore a site free of development with an agricultural use. The site is screened by a hedgerow, but caravans on the site can be perceived from outside. The existing unlawful building is prominent, passing along Uffington Road, from Sission Close and from footpaths on higher ground to the west. The proposals comprise a considerable quantum of development that erodes the essential open character of the countryside, replacing it with urban development that fails to recognise and protect the countryside. The site is within the Welland Valley landscape character area. The proposals will not improve or conserve the landscape, contrary to the landscape strategy and contrary to policy LP27, they will fail to recognise or enhance the character and special qualities of the local landscape through appropriate design, that's criteria A, nor will they reflect or enhance local distinctiveness, criteria B, or protect the landscape, setting and separate identities of settlements, criteria E. The proposals conflict with policies LP27, LP10, LP16, LP2 and LP11, as well as A3 and C3 of the Barnack Neighbourhood Plan and the MPPF. The application site is outside the village limit and is not accessed by pavement or footpaths. This part of the road is unlit and subject to high speeds. The lack of footway and street lighting means that the pedestrian and cycle access is dangerous and conflicts with policy LP10 and LP13 and MPPF paragraphs 109, 115 and 116. Barnack contains a primary school, public house and cafe. It does not provide a range of facilities to meet day-to-day needs. The application site is not a sustainable location for any new residential development. Occupants would be reliant on private vehicles to access day-to-day facilities, and thus the development will conflict with the MPPF, as well as policies LP2, LP10 and LP13, which seek to reduce the need to travel by car and make journeys on foot, cycle and public transport the most attractive options. You've also, before you got the objections of national gas transmissions, and I note a reason for refusal has been added in that regard, so I say no more. The development has been partially undertaken without the benefit of planning permission and comprises intentional or authorised developments. The applicant would be aware of that, given they were represented by a professional agent. Intentional or authorised development weighs against the grant of planning permission. In summary, we support the officer's recommendation to refuse planning permission of this intentional and authorised development. And regardless of
Would you like to round up, please?
Sorry,
Yeah,
and
thank you.
regardless of any need, we would ask members to consider additional reasons for refusal relating to the countryside, highway safety and the unsustainable location. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, thank you. Do any members wish to ask any questions? No? In that case, thank you. You may now return to the public gallery. Thank you. Questions to officers now, isn't it? Yeah.
Did they ask the speaker questions?
And there's no, so the questions to officers now, isn't it?
No. So
said no. I did that. So the question to the officers. Yeah. Right. Okay, sorry about that. Do committee members have any question for officers? No? Now I'm going to ask a question. Now, considering that this site's got a sort of a history, obviously I think in your presentation you said agricultural nursery, so there must have been some sort of involvement of vehicles coming in and going out. So why wasn't a safety issue at that time? Why now?
Yes, so in short, the plan history for site is quite sort of convoluted in essence, because a lot of the uses on site have been unlawful over time. So it is sort of difficult to pinpoint exactly the lawful use at certain times. But the agriculture one for the orchard, that was only for sort of one farming cottage, dwelling house, and then the sort of workstation. So the number of users on that site was a lot less than this one. So as part of this application, we did sort of ask for a sort of a comparison in trip generation rates. So the number of movements from this site proposed compared to the previous extant uses on the site. And again, that wasn't sort of submitted to us. But hopefully, once you're on site, you can sort of see the number of, there's 4 caravans, associated families. So just by essence, there'll be a lot more sort of trip generation from this site compared to the previous uses. And then given the access is sort of shared with the vineyard as well, there's an additional site, so there's an intensification of use on the site as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Considering that the only issue, I mean, there are 2 issues now, but the main issue is the highway. Have you been in contact with the applicant agents, asking them to give you sort of assessments, anything like that?
Yes, so we've made contact on numerous occasions with both the applicant and the agent, requesting a speed survey, updated calculations on the displays, amendments to the site plans, etc. But again, yeah, nothing's been forthcoming, hence why we brought it to committee today to be determined.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Spitzred.
Thank you, Chair. It was mentioned just now that there was an issue with visual amenity. What's your view on that as a reason for refusal? Thank you.
So outlined in the report under Part B, the character and appearance of the site, we did sort of acknowledge that there'd be a limited harm in terms of visual impact, but this was sort of somewhat offset by the existing uses on site, plus the very generous soft landscape and boundary treatments around the site as well, which sort of screened the uses on site. And again, sort of when you're looking, especially from the north to the south towards Barnack, you've got that quite a lot of built form in the background. So seeing this, I guess, in the foreground of Barnack, the visual impact can't be sort of, from our opinion, to be sort of adverse or detrimental.
Thank you. Councillor Rush.
We've been talking about the entrance, the displays as it's called. Is there any room there to increase the entrance displays so that it would be acceptable for the planning?
Yeah, so there's not really room at the moment due to the visibility displays can't cross third-party land. Essentially, they've got to be like clear sight lines on like sort of public ownership that doesn't cross other people's land. And either side, you've got various hedging and agricultural fields that aren't part of the application site. So therefore, the views could be obstructed from sort of future development or future growth the applicant has no sort of control over. So yeah, no, there's no sort of scope for increase in the visibility displays. The only sort of scope would be by them to do like a speed survey to sort of demonstrate a reduced display. But again, that wasn't sort of demonstrated either.
Thank you. Any further questions? If that's the case, then who would like to start the debate? Councillor Mahmood.
Chair, if I may, thank you. I'd like to thank the officer for his very detailed report and the speakers. I share the concerns that have been raised, and I, in good conscience with regards to the safety issues that have been raised, I can't be supporting this application. So I will be supporting officer recommendations in this current moment in time.
Thank you. Any more debate? Councillor Rush?
Thank you, Chair. When plan applications for Gypsy sites come to these meetings, emotions can run very, very high. There is a need for Gypsy sites in Peterborough and the Peterborough area, but they must be built within accordance of planning policy. Each planning application is taken on its merits. Of this planning application, we have issues with the local highways authority, which was further information was required but was not provided. The national gas transmission found to be in a high risk zone, and it must, and then as they said in capital letters, it must not proceed without further assessments. So down to these planning issues, and we must go on planning issues, not emotions. I will be going with planning officer's advice and rejecting this planning application.
Thank you. Councillor Rangzeb?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I also agree with the officers on the view that if I hadn't visited the site, I probably would have had some other views. But having seen the site and the entry and exit point is on a kind of curve. On the map, it looks fairly straight, but having seen it, the hedges are coming in your view on both sides. So that is really a risk. And the other thing is that continuous development by the applicants, and there's no effort to address this issue. Officers have given them the opportunity to come forward and address these issues, and they haven't. Otherwise, I am minded to, I would have been happy to support this application, but in absence of, in their effort to communicate with the officers, therefore I would be opposing this.
Thank you. Councillor Bisbee?
Thank you, Chair. I agree with what a lot of my fellow councillors have said. We have to go by planning regulations, and for me the highways and the natural gas issues prevent me from supporting this. So I will go with the officers, and thank you very much for the officers for the report they've given. So I will be going with the officers' recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Fitzgerald?
Thanks, Chair. Interestingly, it's the same applicant as the previous planning application that came before the committee, which was refused but subsequently overturned on appeal. And I suspect, if this decision is to refuse, the same applicant will appeal this. There is a continued pattern here of wholly opportunistic planning applications in unsuitable sites. This is entirely unsuitable, and I think Councillor Ty probably nailed it quite accurately in the sense of we have a duty of care. And given the overwhelming reasons for refusal, and it's not on balance or anywhere near on balance, and I think the last one we did, whilst it was recommended for approval, which shows we have a completely transparent planning system here, and Councillor Rush is right, there are a need for places for Gypsy and traveller sites, but they must be done in consultation with the planning authority and indeed taking into account the local circumstances of each application. Incidentally, the one in Lincoln Road has, as we envisaged, turned out to be a bit of a nightmare. Not that that's anything to do with planning, but that's just anecdotal reports coming back. So this, to me, is not acceptable, just, wholly unacceptable. As Councillor Rangza was trying to also orchestrate or explain in his answer, we do try to have an open mind, and I think we do in this case, and our eyes are fully open. But if you read the summary in terms of the reasons for refusal, they're overwhelmingly convincing. So I shall be supporting the officer this time, he'd be pleased about that because he felt a bit slighted last time perhaps, but not really. And I think that we should go with officer recommendation and refuse this application for all the reasons stated, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Skipsted?
Thank you, Chair. I would agree with my colleagues on the two main reasons for refusal. I also accept that there is a need for Gypsy and Traveller sites, but there's overwhelming evidence from these two particular points that have been raised to refuse this application today. Thank you.
Any more contribution? Well, what I'm going to say about it is that when I went on site, I think, as Councillor Rangzib said, I think it's very important that we have we go to site visits. It makes a huge difference. We could ask officers questions. I was minded to go in favour of it. Obviously, there is a need for Gypsy accommodation, but take into account that highway raised an issue and lack of cooperation from the applicant and his agent. It's not sufficient for me to convince that issue has been addressed. So they've given them ample opportunity. That clearly shows that they've just totally disregarded it. So on that basis, and it's a serious issue, highway safety is very important that we need to take into account. And on that basis, I'm not minded to go against officers' recommendation. Okay, any further debate? No? Okay, can we have a proposer then? Councillor Mahmood, can we have a seconder? Councillor
You don't know what his proposal is.
Sorry, Chairman. Yeah, I propose we...
I think I've gathered that.
Yeah.
What is your proposal? Can you state that, please?
Yeah, I propose that we support officer recommendations and grant refusal for this application.
Thank you. Can we have a seconder now? Councillor McNally, yeah, are you happy to second?
I'm happy to second, go with officer.
Okay, all those in favour will have to raise their green card if I'm correct.
It's unanimous, Chair.
It's unanimous. I don't think we need to do anything else, do we? Okay.
So, just confirm unanimous to go against unanimous.
So the scene is unanimous in favour of officer's recommendation, isn't it? So we don't need to do anything else. Thank you very much. That's done. Thank you. Thank you. Now it's item 5.2. The report can be found on page 35. Please can I... Yeah. Is he left? Yeah, he's in the gallery anyway. Yeah, okay. The report can be found on page 35. Please can I ask, is it Kesni Kazlatska to introduce the item? I apologise that I couldn't pronounce your name properly, but I would appreciate it if you could just introduce yourself. That would be good. Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Ksenia Kasztalska and I'm Development Management Officer. The site is 48 Berkeley Road, permission is sought for the erection of two-story side and rear extensions, as well as single-story extension using matching materials to the original dwelling. The development includes part demolition of garage at the rear, which was allowed in 2007. This plan shows the orientation of the site on the map against the rotation of the sun. The application site is located in Netherton, surrounded solely by residential dwellings to the north, east, south, and west. The site encompasses of a semi-detached dwelling set back from the road slightly. Dwellings in the surrounding area are of a similar characters and are mainly semi-detached, two-story houses and bungalows. This is the existing block plan, which also shows a driveway with 2 car parking spaces. This is the existing floor plan, which shows that currently the house has 3 bedrooms. This is the proposed, the existing elevation plan, which we can see here. This is proposed block plan. The proposal would result in additional bedroom, total 4 beds, however, would not result in the loss of existing off-street parking provision. This is proposed floor plan. The proposed ground floor extension would project 6 meters from the original rear wall of the dwelling house and reach a height of 3 meters with a smaller first floor rear-projection. The 2-story extension would be 4 meters long at the rear, and the front elevation of the 2-story side extension would be set back 0.5 meters from the original front elevation, so here. This is proposed elevations plan. Extensions would be constructed using matching materials to the already existing dwelling, which can be secured via condition. The projection of the ground floor element is 0.9 meters from the boundary treatment of number 46 and 0.3 meters to number 50. The ground floor extends the dining area with no side windows to the west, rear windows projecting towards the garden, and 1 single door and window on the east, here. The new bedroom window on the 2-story extension is inset approximately 4 meters from the boundary of number 50. The proposed window, which would face number 46, this one here, would be obscure glazed, as it would serve the bathroom and will be secured via condition to protect amenity. The 2-story side extension would be set back 0.5 meters from the original front elevation. Photos from the site. So this one here is front of the property. An extension is proposed here to the site. And here is number 46. That's the rear of the property and garden and facing number 50 here. 2 photos at the top shows the view of number 46 from the 48 Berkeley Road, and 2 photos underneath shows the view of 48 Berkeley Road from the garden of number 50. So that's number 50, and here is 48. The main planning considerations were designed, neighbor amenity, and highway safety. Regarding the design, it was conducted that it is in accordance with LP 16 of Peterborough Local Plan 2019 and Chapter 12 of the National Planning Policy Framework 2024. In addition, the proposal would not result in overbearing structure, which would create an unacceptable loss of light or unacceptably loss of privacy to neighbor occupiers in accordance with Policy LP 17 of Peterborough Local Plan and NPPF 2024, paragraph 12. As the site would maintain the 2 car parking spaces, The proposal is considered to accord with policy LP13 of the Peterborough Local Plan 2019. Considering all material consideration, the application is recommended to be approved subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for your presentation. We have 2 people registered to speak on this item. Please can I ask Libby Smart and Sue Dunthorne the objection to address the committee. You will have 5 minutes between you in which to address the committee. The Democratic Service Officer will let you know when you have 30 seconds left, and then when the time has lapsed. When you're ready, if you can please switch on your mic and start speaking. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to be heard today. I'm the owner of number 46 Berkeley Road. My family and I have lived at this address for 30 years and have all been a part of the local community, which includes the church, the shops, local schools, fates, meetings, dance classes, and anything and everything that comes with living in a sought-after area and close community. In the last couple of days, I've noticed a support statement has been listed, even though the closing date for all of us was July the 30th, which gave us 2 weeks to respond. I quote from that statement, "The proposal is to provide a better layout for the family and accommodate their needs to the quality of life that they require." My reply to this is that the family consists of 5 people. Originally, when they moved in approximately a year ago, there were 2 brothers, 2 sisters and a wife. The family could quite easily live in this semi-detached property, as do so many other families in Berkeley Road, including the previous family of 5 who lived in the property for over 20 years. Again, I quote from the support statement received 2 days ago. The applicant has looked into purchasing a larger property, but unfortunately they do not have the adequate equity or enough funds to purchase the larger property. Therefore, they're looking to extend this property. My observation to this is that the agent owner, Mr. A. Ahmed, resides at 126 Eastgate, Deeping St James, PE6 8RD, a 6-bedroomed, very large detached house worth, I would estimate, £600,000 plus. Mr. Ahmed bought 48 Berkeley Road approximately 14 months ago and immediately rented it out through the lettings agency on Mayor's Walk, Peterborough. He has never lived in the property, and I don't think he's got any intention of doing so. So I think that clearly there's not a money problem. He can quite easily afford to spend, £200,000 plus on this vast extension. The extension, which I believe is for the use of the present tenants to continue having their friends living there, or furthermore, since having a baby, I would highly suggest the intention is for the extended family to move here from Pakistan. Whoever did write this statement cannot seriously believe that the proposal will provide a positive contribution to this area. They clearly have not checked out this house and activities in the past year. Myself, other neighbours, Councillor Ahmed, the enforcement officer, waste management team that have visited and witnessed it know that this property already verges on an HMO, including people living in the lounge of the property and the outside garage. I would like to know, why does their family's wants and needs play a major factor, but the massive building overshadowing my garden and blocking my light and also a window looking directly into my upstairs hallway does not play a factor? Surely you have the right to protect the wants and needs of my family too. This family cannot even maintain the state of their house at present, with a bin flowing everywhere, which has been reported endless times, and a very large overgrown apple tree, nappies in the garden, which has all caused rat problems now in the area.
Can I just interrupt? You've got 1 minute left, and if you want to give her an opportunity to speak.
You go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be quick. My main issue is the parking, really. At the minute, there's 5 to 6 cars. Since we've addressed and disagreed with this application, the cars are all parked around side streets. they think we're as stupid as they are, but we notice where the cars are parked. So why do a huge extension like this? Where are the extra cars going to go? This is already a very, very busy road with the three schools going through daily. Where are they going to put the lorries? Where are they going to put everything? These people are out making a noise at midnight. They're out there beeping their horns. Somebody comes at 5 in the morning, beeps the car. Don't know whether they're going to work or what. You know, these are simple
That's
things.
30 seconds left.
Sorry. Yeah. So, but I'd like to thank Councillor Ahmed because he's given a lot of time to us to support us in this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You had 15 seconds left, but anyway, thank you. Right, members, do you have any questions for them? Okay, I have a question.
Road and there's cars coming down. They are always parking dangerously.
Thank you. A question for you. Thank you very much for your address. I think your address was more opinion-based.
I've got loads more to say.
No, hear my question. So it's more opinion-based. Obviously, we have to take planning material consideration into account. I think from your address, the only point that I think was quite relevant was that it's overshadowing or overbearing on your part. Can you explain that a bit more?
Could you say that again, sorry?
That the extension would have an overbearing impact on your property.
Well, yes, you saw from the pictures how close it is. The people that live there, they throw all of their rubbish out of the bathroom window, nappies, razor blades, toilet rolls. It's taken a long time for our Councillor Ahmed and the waste management team to educate them. Now this property is going to be on top of mine. All this rubbish is going to get thrown into my side alleyway. I think, is that the answer to the question you're asking?
Okay, do you want to respond to it again? Or is that what you want to say?
About the side alleyway?
No, overbearing impact on your property.
Well, it is.
Where they will look into your property.
So you said they would be throwing litter on that. Is that your response to it?
My response is what I've already said, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further question? Yeah, Councillor Scottsred.
Thank you, Chair. You mentioned that about the window overlooking, but as I understand it from the officer, that is obscured. It won't be overlooking because it will be obscured glass. Is that correct?
This side window overlooking of my property is, it's glazed. However, their property is going to be a bathroom window. And as I've already just tried to explain, everything is thrown out of the bathroom window.
So I'm just talking about the overlooking. It'll be glazed, so they won't be able to overlook because it'll be obscured. Is that correct, as I understand it? Yeah.
They can overlook into my garden. I work at the side of my house, so they're overlooking where I'm working.
Sorry, what I'm just trying to ascertain is it's an obscured window, so nobody can look out of it. Maybe I can get that confirmed by the officer.
No, yes, you're right. It is
Okay.
nobody can look out of it.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Rush.
Thank you, Chair. You made a lot of assumptions. What are your main objections to this planning application in planning terms?
My main objection is that it's going to be, and it already is, an HMO. That's my main objection.
The thing is,
You say it's already in an HMO.
yeah,
Yes, it
it's
is.
obvious.
Yeah, clearly it is.
Living there, we can see it.
How many bedrooms?
It's
There's
got
3 bedrooms. There's one living in the garage, one living in the living room, one in the dining room, and the 3 bedrooms upstairs. And once you set a precedent and make it an HMO there, yes, there's big extensions in the road already, but they're for families to live in. This is not a family. It's going to set a precedent, and then everybody's going to then take up root. We have young grandchildren that come and stay. You know, we don't want all these cars and everything parked around. I understand people have to live, yes, but go where you can park your cars safely.
Councillor Rush, I think that's a question for officers about the HMO, yeah. Thank you. Any further questions? No, thank you. You could take a seat in the public gallery. Questions to officers, isn't it? Now, any questions to officers? Councillor Mahmood?
Thank you, Chair, and if I may, I want to address the question about the overbearing that's just been mentioned by by the neighbour of 46. Can officers confirm that in terms of policy that it is sufficient spacing and it won't have an acceptable overbearing to them? So yeah, I just want to clarify that the spacing that's been outlined is sufficient.
The distance between the side two-story re-elevation to the fence of number 46 would be 0.90, and then here is the driveway of number 46 garage here, which would be 2.5 meters. So the distance is enough to not cause any overbearing.
Thank you.
Councillor Rush, you could ask your question now.
I'll ask my question now. It was stated by the lady that it's already an HMO. Have you any answer to that question?
This application has been submitted as a householder planning application, so the use would be residential. If the property would become HMO, then it would possibly require a different planning application. However, this concern about HMO shouldn't impact decision about this planning application.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, who would like to start the debate then? Yeah, Councillor Fitzgerald.
I'll go first this time. Get it out of the way. Whilst I greatly sympathise, as we often do, with a resident's perspective, we have the blessing of being trained, if you like, which we do. I know it's remarkable that the public might think we actually have some training in planning. The concerns are not something that have been expressed today that we can take account of in terms of granting planning permission or refusing. So the issue about litter and waste is not anything to do with planning. And if you read the report, I think the officer has covered off most of those things, if not all those things, that have been raised today. So whilst it's annoying if you have a neighbour that throws rubbish out the window, it's not anything to do with this planning application. And also, even if it is an HMO now, as is being claimed, it is not relevant to this application. What is relevant to the application, it's words of advice if people are listening, is if you think there's a planning use that is not legal, then you should report that now. It doesn't stop this application. And I think the officer also covered, and again it says explicitly in the report, that if somebody wanted to formalise an HMO, which is a completely different use class, then they would have to return to the council for planning permission to do so. Now, whilst that is frustrating, our hands are tied. And much as we'd love to support every resident, unfortunately, I don't think we can. And I think in terms of planning policy, it complies with planning policy. And I'm sorry, that might not be something you want to hear, but it does. And also, we can't say no on the basis of somebody might do it in the future. This is something we're always confronted with, that a potential breach of an agreed planning use is always possible. But again, if that's the case now, you need to report it, or if this is approved as recommended and that changes, you would have to report that. In terms of highways issues, again, the highways team would have looked at the availability of parking in that wider area, not just on that street, which I know very well because it used to be part of my ward for a number of years. So I know that area very, very well. Again, one of the most common complaints we get about planning applications is no parking. But again, it will comply with policy. And unless policy is changed, we can't say there is a reason to refuse on parking grounds. So unfortunately, I would struggle to go against officers' advice on this one, or recommendation, I would say, even though I have a great deal of sympathy for people who live next to neighbours who aren't very considerate. We see it all the time, and it really is frustrating. But there are other powers and roads to follow in terms of all the areas you've outlined, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mahmood.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. I second what my colleague, Councillor Fitzgerald, has just said. You know, I sympathise with your issue and the problems that you are facing with your neighbour. I would strongly advise that, you know, your views, you know, if you feel that you know, contraventions are happening, that you follow official channels and report it through the enforcement teams, and you know, to go down that route. And as outlined in the officer report, if they were to, you know, have some sort of HMO or anything like that.
Councillor Mahmood, I think,
you know,
if you stick to the planning.
Yeah. But on planning policy, unfortunately, there isn't anything here that I can support on. So that's all I'd like to say.
I think Phil would like to come in. Yeah, Phil, would you like to come in, please? Thank you.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Just to clarify that the character of people living there at the moment, or their behaviour, is not material. Is not a material planning consideration. That it can't be taken into account. On the point of HMOs, it was stated that, you know, there's a belief that it may be being used as an HMO at the moment. If you've got members of an extended family living together in a single household, doesn't necessarily make that household an HMO. And what's being applied for here is a householder extension to a dwelling, not an extension to an HMO. And in any case, it's permitted development to change use of a dwelling house to a small HMO for up to 6 people living separately but in the same house. And that's apart from very specified areas of the city where there is Article 4 directions, but that doesn't apply in this area. So that could happen to any house in virtually any street, in most streets in Peterborough, without the need to apply for planning permission. But yeah, as I say, what's being applied for here is a householder extension to a dwelling, and that's what members need to make their decision on.
Thank you. Any further debate? Yeah, Councillor Bisbee.
Thank you, Chair, through you. And I do thank the officer there for that explanation. We do have to go by the planning regulations, and especially the household application and permitted development. So for me, understanding the problems that the residents next door have, I'll be supporting the officers in this decision.
Any further debate yet? Councillor Warren?
I think I'm going to be kind of in agreement with my fellow councillors. I understand the concerns of where the residents are coming forward with that situation, but we are planning a committee, in that situation. We've got to follow those regulations and those training that we've had with this planning situation. And we've seen no real planning objections to this plan at all. We understand all nuisances. We've probably all got that in our wards, and we've all got that situations, but we're not here to discuss this. We're looking at it from planning. We could look at it with the overbearing nature, the character of the build and that situation, but those kind of objections that would have been there have been alleviated with what's been said by the officer in this case in that situation. So at the moment, I've seen no objections on a planning point of view to refuse this application, and on that basis, I will go with officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Any further debate? No. Okay. I would like to thank you for coming. I mean, you were given an opportunity to, you know, put your case to us. Your address was very sympathetic, emotional, but with due respect, I would say there's more. You were saying that this is what they should do, like a dictation. we've taken that into account, but unfortunately we can't give any weight to it because it doesn't come under the planning material consideration. No, you can't interrupt now. That's it. So on that basis, with due respect, you came over, we respect that. We gave it opportunity, but as my fellow colleagues have said, the input you've given to the committee doesn't address the objections, more of your opinion based and how you want people to live. So on that basis, unfortunately, I would also like to go with the officer's recommendation. Any further debate? Right, if that's not the case, can I get a proposer? Oh, sorry, you wanted to come in?
I would propose that my recommendation would be to go with officer's recommendation and grant this planning application.
Thank you. And Councillor Bisbee, you willing to second that?
Yes, Chair, I second that and propose that we go with officer's recommendations.
Okay, right. In that case, all in favour, if you could raise the green flag.
We're only doing 4 at the moment, Councillor McNally, so...
No, you keep yours down at the moment. We'll give you an opportunity, right? Okay. So all in favour? Okay. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you do?
Can you raise them again, please? Sorry.
Sorry.
Should be 10, yeah.
It's 9.
Yeah, Councillor Rangsib's not part of it, is it? It's got to be 9.
Down, didn't he?
Yeah. Okay. All right, all those against, if you could raise your red card. And finally, any abstentions? That's only one abstention. Yeah, can you give us the verdict? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. That is, sorry, you can't.
So you can't get involved in the discussion now. It's done, dusted. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. That is 9-4 and 1 abstention to go with the officer's recommendation to grant the planning application.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. That brings us to the end of the meeting today. If members could stay behind for about 5 minutes, I'd like to have a discussion with you about something, if that's okay.